Good evening. Jill writes book reviews on YouTube and Jill writes on my blog. I'm just reading the Prelude that I fixed up for the travellers from my NaNoWriMo, and as I say, I fixed it up. I rewrote it and changed it a bit. So listen to this one. It's a Prelude, Orthama Space Station, year 2027. Welcome, Davru. Elder Vinny smiled at his friend and hugged him. You look well. Hello, my friend, Davru smiled. You lie well. I'm looking old and washed out. You still have long hair, a little grey, and the pure golden hue is a little duller, but you do have that spark in your blue eyes, my friend. Vinny took his arm in his. Orthama Space Station has grown. Again, I can see. Davru changed the subject. Yes, we've extended with the aid of friends from the Unification Alliance. Earth has contributed a great deal, as well you know. Your family have been instrumental in the changes. Let me drink in the view from the corridor of lineage. Davru smiled as his friends, they walked arm in arm from the space dock. Once at their destination, the two stood for some time in companionable silence. They walked further along the corridor and Davru looked up at the founding scientists' images. Beneath them were the faces of the founders of the propagation experiment. They stopped in front of Richard's youthful image. I tried to explain to Richard the importance of the planet of origin, Davru sighed, like the propagation program and the clone dual gender experimentation. It was all too much for him to take in. He's just a boy from the bush. I was afraid of him when we first met, Vinny admitted. He did become a firm friend, though, once we got to know him. But it's been many years since he passed. It's been over 10 years. I miss him every day, Davru squeezed Vinny's arm. I'm near the end of my life, Vinny. This will be my last trip to the place I was created. Let's go to the nearest dining hall and have a meal. I believe you have some excellent wine from Australia, and that'll make the meal more palatable. Well, Dad, the food here isn't that bad, chided Vinny. I'm used to fresh-grown produce. We have our hydroponic garden and food imported from the 5 planets. You'll enjoy a fine meal, Vinny rebuked gently while steering his friend away from the images. Elder Vinny, is this your associate from Earth? A snub-nosed elder walked towards them. Thank you, Elder Tez, for coming to welcome Davru back to his place of origin. Vinny saluted the other man. Davru, it was good of you to journey here. I'm part of the forward planning group for the rehabilitation of Orthama. How long do you plan to stay? Not long, Elder Tez. I'm interested in the plans you put forward. Can you tell me a little what has been prepared? I don't think that's appropriate. We've discussed the details for many moon turns, and you've not been part of that. Elder Tez, Vinny stood between his friend and the elder. Davru and the Davidson family have assisted us for many years, from growing trade links to links amalgamated with the planets and the Battle of the Worlds. I can't see why we should exclude suggestions from our friends and allies. What suggestions? We have considered all the options and prepared for our return to Orthama. I wonder how many generations it'll be before our planet Orthama is able to regenerate enough to be resettled. When the sun warms the soil there and wholesome food can be grown. The predictions are long-term, as you know from the reports, perhaps 4 or 5 generations away. Vinny raised an eyebrow. Reports that are not to be shared, Elder Vinny. Davru and his partner were part of the original propagation program. We can always benefit from alternative points of view. I do not see the necessity. Be discreet, Elder Vinny. I disagree, Elder Tez. I intend to share a meal with a visiting friend, and our idle chat is of no concern of yours. Vinny put his arm through Davru's. The food hall is this way. Vinny led Davru away. Charming, isn't he? I do have some suggestions, Davru grinned. Are they going to upset the stuffy planners? Yes, Davra nodded. I've been thinking about the people who came here from the surface of the planet. They were single gender, not dual. Dual clones were developed to help our species survive. Vinny pulled his earlobe. Common knowledge, facts that we all learn in our first waking moments. The 5 planets have diverse genetic compositions. We've augmented ourselves with them. Davra smiled as they walked into the dining hall, and he nodded towards the table by the windows. I was thinking, when we finally do resettle on the planet Orthama, we should make sure the makeup of the first settlers is genetically as close to the original inhabitants as possible. Why? Why would we put dual clones on the ancient planet? Davra ordered his meal on the keypad and at the table and glanced up at his friend. The people who lived on Orthama were men and women, single gender. Dual clones like us were a necessary part of the propagation program, but the genetic makeup of not our genetic makeup of our true origin. Would it make any difference? The plans for settlement of our home world have been discussed many times since the original catastrophe. Don't you think the elders will put the best possible outcome in place? Vinny tapped his order into the keyboard. I have no doubt many plans were made, but I think this aspect needs to be re-engineered genetically, as our own gender cloning has been done, so that we can return to single gender individuals becoming new settlers. I'd have to put such a suggestion to the Elders' Council. Vinny shifted in his chair and looked at his friend closely, taking in the gaunt, almost transparent skin. Some of my children have single gender offspring, Davra continued. This occurred naturally. We'd have to have this ratified and placed in the conditions of the final resettlement program. All the resettlement criteria can be discussed long after we've both passed on. Vinny looked up at his friend. You do look tired, Dav. The spark in your eyes has dulled since Richard passed. You've seen many more developments on Earth and all the other planets in the Unification Alliance. Isn't it time you rest your mind from such concerns? I am tired, Davra smiled, as the piping hot meals emerged from the recess in the wall beside them. This is one thing, though, that I need to put into the charter for resettlement. Call it my final legacy. I'll put it to the elders. There could be opposition from the likes of Elder Tez. The aperture in the wall opened. And now there's some delicious wine from Australia, I believe. Vinny opened the bottle and poured them a glass each. A taste of home. It's not a Victorian wine, Davra sipped and licked his lips, but it is delicious. There you go. Look it up on YouTube. And I'd love to have you comment on YouTube or on my blog. Okay, Jill writes on my blog, and Jill writes book reviews on YouTube. Have a great evening.